Welcome to the first Roundtable Panel, GatherVerse Education Crisis Day 2. I want to give a heartfelt thank you to Christopher for that heartfelt and passionate introduction, because it has set the tone of what we are going to discuss today. On our today Roundtable Panel titled Classrooms Everywhere, Learning from the World. I am Lynn Gitao, Communications Director at GatherVerse. And with me, I'm joined with a roster of expert panelists from around the world who will help us understand what is a classroom, what is learning, what does the world have to teach, or rather, what is technology teaching the world? We're here to discuss that. And our fellow panelists, until called upon, I ask you to remain muted. We have a very long, interesting journey to cover, and I ask you to please keep your remarks very brief while we hold on to the weight of what we have to say. And let me see who I want to start with. Over to my right. Let me start with Marisa. Marisa, this is not your first time. Please tell us who you are briefly and what inspired you to join us today. And we'll pass it over and end the introduction after Sunil. Marisa, over to you. Your mic, please. Please unmute.
Hi, I'm so sorry. Thank you, Christopher. Thank you to you and to my fellow panelists or roundtable guests. I am the co-chair of AI Ethics Education with IEEE. I am an educational psychologist. I am an AI ethicist for quite many years. I am currently helping to lead the recommended standards for K through 12 education with technology and AI, and global and founder of Global Alliance for Digital Education and Sustainability. Been in education for 37 years, and this is part of my huge passion. Very grateful to be here.
Marisa, we're always honored to have you here, and we're looking forward to hear about the ethics side of things and the standards that you have to tell us about. Over to you, Felista. Tell us who you are. What inspired you to join us today?
Thank you, Lynn. Good morning, everybody. My name is Felista Yogo, and in profession, I'm a health care interoperability and AI expert. And all my volunteer times, I've worked a lot in the intersection of technology and communities. I have worked with women, young people across the world, and I can't wait to have this conversation on quality education.
We're very happy to have you. Thank you for joining us for the second time. You are in the right place. Lynn, of course, you are a family to GatherVerse. Tell us who you are and where you're joining us from. Please, your mic kindly.
Me? Okay, sorry, I didn't hear you.
There you go.
Thank you. Yes, I am Lynn. I'm sorry for any background noise. I am a former aerospace engineer turned spiritual guide medium and very much an educator. I teach youth aerial. I've been a tutor many times in my life. I've been a professional, so I've worked in level 4 schools with both children with disciplinary issues and severe autism and other cognitive disabilities. I'm excited to be here because it's a crucial time. And I just want to give a slow clap to Chris's introduction because that was really powerful.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much. We're looking forward to hear from you. And over to you, Gopi. But I look forward to really learn how to really pronounce your name. But if I have butchered it, please correct me. Over to you. Tell us what inspired you to join us.
Helen and everybody, good morning. And this is Gopi Krishna, and I'm working with IEEE right now, and I'm managing many of the customers. And my basic designation is Cloud ERP SAP Architect, as a manager, architect, or a solution architect, anything. And because I'm supporting a number of clients and migration with on-premises to cloud, and how AI works with SAP, and today what the generation is looking for that AI, and we are giving that information to clients and submitting that this is part of my job regularly.
Wow, that is very commendable. Very happy to have you here for the second time, actually. So, Neil, this is not your first time as well. Please tell us who you are, what inspired you to join us today.
Yeah. Hello, thank you. I'm Sunil Subidar from the Netherlands, Europe. Actually, I'm a cybersecurity specialist, mainly in the cryptography field and PKI, but I'm also a trainer, certified trainer for PCB, known from the ISO certification and EC Council, more the technical certifications. Work more than 3 decades in the IT field and more than 14 years in the cyber field. A reason why I'm joining is I'm also supporting and have a lot of collaboration for the last 8 years with college and universities, mainly in India, and also recently with university in London, where we are empowering, supporting them on cybersecurity, AI, data science, but also digital forensics kind of projects.
Wow, that is quite a wealth of experience. And the beauty of having you is we get to listen from people from India, London, every part of the world. So you're very, very welcome. And Esther, over to you. Tell us who you are and what inspired you to join us today.
All right, thank you so much. I am Esther. I am joining you from Malawi, Africa. I am a software developer by profession, and I am also the founder of the AI and Innovation Hub, where we explore how to bridge technology to create opportunities, especially for young people. So I'm very passionate about creating solutions. So I'm very excited to be here to learn from the global perspective and how we can assist and hope to bridge opportunities as well as education. Thank you so much, and over.
You are in the right place. This being your first time, we welcome people from around the world. Thank you for joining us. Anish, this is not your first time as well. Please tell us who you are and what inspired you to join us today.
Hello, everyone. So I'm Anish Bhatti. This is my second time joining this global event, and I'm very happy to join in once again. So I'm Anish Bhatti. I'm founder of Train My Brain. I am originally a chartered accountant turned into an Ikigai coach. Ikigai, the Japanese word of finding purpose. So my training revolves around utilizing brain mapping, utilizing my own design meditation program, and unpacking the gift, which I usually say that everyone is carrying a gift. My role is just to help you unpack it. So here I am, and I would love to interact with the other co-panelists and listen to their views. And yeah, let's see how it shapes up. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us as well. You know, panelists, shall we begin? Right, let's begin. You know, when Christopher started this particular day summit, and he said classrooms appear in different forms. Some classrooms are in the computer, others in the forest, others in the city, others in the village. The forms of classrooms are so many, but yet there's only one goal: to educate the mind. But let's just really reflect now. What is quality education? What is education right now? Is it the one that is being educated by technology, or is it the one that we learn daily through experiences of what was passed to us through our parents, grandmothers, and relatives and society? What is education? I will start with you, Esther, and then I'll come to you, Marisa. Tell us, what is your definition of education? And I want to hear everyone's perspective on this before we even just chime in. Okay, Esther is gone. Let's go with you, Marisa. Please tell us what is education to you? Your mic, please.
Hi, yes. Education is, I mean, I think as you have just kind of referred to, it is multi-layered, it is multi-dimensional, really solid education. I've been in education for 38 years. I've been working with New York City schools and schools around the world for over 38 years. And the current model of education that in the world, whether it's in computer or not, generally is modeled after a factory model. These are industrial factory models of learning. It's a very linear style of learning. And certainly Waldorf kind of methods, and actually many indigenous methods of learning and education, which are experiential, are quite more profound. But it is about, to me, it's about educating the whole person. This is not, and there's a lot of talk about educating the whole person and very little evidence of it in organized education. And I'm a huge fan of education. I actually believe it's a fantastic opportunity for bettering society in all kinds of ways. That being said, what we are dealing with in the integration of AI systems is an entirely different thing. There's a disruption of the human. There is a disruption and boundaries of the human. And that's not to say it cannot be used for good. It can be used for fantastic things. But the things that are generally missing are really understanding what it is doing to the cognition. And this is a huge part of my work as a psychologist. I'm working with top researchers from Cambridge, Oxford, Princeton, all of the brain science and what this is doing to our brains, what it's also doing to us psychosocially. So what is happening to us is impacting that whole thing. And I'll wrap it up with, it is impacting the ability to have a holistic or a whole education, including the absence of physical movement, which comes with increased screen time. So I'm going to leave it at that. But my view of education is that it is something that we will have to recreate and reimagine.
Marisa, that was a very powerful sentiment. Picking up from your experience of that 8 years, I believe you've seen quite a lot, but I still feel the education system still remains from the industrial age. But Esther, I can't find Esther. I really wanted to hear her thoughts, but I think she will be back. Lynn, over to you. What is education to you? Your mic, please.
Hi, yes. Okay, so I wrote down notes so I could keep it brief. So in the past, I heard you mention education of the mind, and that is 100% how it has been in the past. And that I'm looking at as a masculine way. And I think the future is education of the body. So using AI to learn how to master the body. It's shifting and maybe even the soul a little bit. And so for me, education of the body means being outside. It means connected with living things and how to live, such as growing food, building things. And a big thing I wrote on in education specifically, because I thrive in mainstream education in the 80s, but I'm also neurodivergent and love that structure. And so I think we need hands-on learning in equal proportion to right now going outside is like recess and it gets cut half the time apart. So I think it definitely needs to be more evenly split of hands-on learning. And then what I wrote here, last point, is AI is for the educators, not for the children. So with kids with disciplinary issues, we can teach them personalized case studies. Kids can get online for conflict resolution because one of the issues when we do something wrong is admitting it, is feeling the shame. But the wonderful thing about AI coaches and therapists is there's no judgment. But I don't think children need AI. All of the leaders, you know this, guys. Come on, all the kids,
Lee,
all the
we're gonna
kids.
come back to that. Lee,
Okay.
just hold on to that thought because I want to hear from everyone because you brought in a very broad, provoking subject matter here. But let's just hear from the rest. Felista, I want to bring you on this. What is your take? What is your view? What do you have to say?
Okay, on quality education, I would think if you want to know a community, look at how they treat their youngest members. And I always encourage people to volunteer in a school. And then, just wonder who will be your next doctor or nurse or accountant. That's a good place to, spot the people because that is our next us in coming years. And when you look at the meaning of quality education, it keeps changing and it changes depending on who are the framers at that time and what is their intent. I think we spoke about the current model of education based on manufacturing, assembly line kind of framework, where we just want to produce a bunch of people to go and work in a company and go back home. And honestly, that is not quality education, because we know quality education needs to be inclusive. It has to be data driven. It has to have accessibility. And also it has to be unique, and also considering the complexity of our world today. And I was looking at differences of some countries. Like, I grew up in Kenya. So when you're looking at in Kenya, what does quality education mean, right? And what are the benchmarks that they're putting on to measure quality education? And we see like high enrollment of girls in primary school and very low enrollment of girls in college. When you come to United States, where I live right now, we have different conversation on what education is, right? We have a lot of young men that are not going to colleges, right? Just because of political rhetoric, they decide, they don't want to go to colleges. When you look at some countries like in Congo and Sudan, kids are not going to school. Why? Because there is war and there's demand for child labor, and they have to work in mining. So there's all that multi-layers, micro and micro realities that we live in as a society when you're looking at quality education.
Melissa, you brought up something very, very intriguing here, because every region has its own definition of education, and education manifests differently in different regions, depending on their needs and depending on the condition and just the whole macro situation of a country. But let me just take it a notch higher. What do you have to say, Anish? What do you have to say, Esther? Please, Anish, go first.
Well, amazing thoughts from the co-panelists. So, I mean, I just want to mention something which I personally have experienced. So, I've lived in Australia for about 11 odd years, and I've done my CA from India and MBA from Australia. And what I found very unique over there is, it's very experiential. Like, if you can make education, if you can make things experiential, make it fun, make it playful, that is what I personally feel it brings the quality aspect of the education. So personally, I'm just going to tell what I have done instead of just talking, what it should be done and all that. So what I did, coming from an accounting background, I created this deck of cards, which is again in a physical format. And anyone can play with the cards and understand accounting in 90 minutes, because I wanted to make it very playful, very fun, very experiential. Again, I created another deck of cards, which is on the lines of socio-emotional learning. So you're just making them play with the cards and let them understand the meaning. So I personally feel that wherever experience is involved, wherever you're making it very playful, fun, very lively, and you're taking them through, you're touching their hearts, you're touching their emotions. That is where I personally feel it will add more value. So.
Yes, I resonate with that, because I think naturally humanity is inclined to games and having a fun experience. So when you bring the aspect of gaming in education and making it as enjoyable as possible, I think this is where the difference is when it comes to learning for memorizations and learning for thinking. So Anil, I want to hear from you, and then I want to hear from you, Gopi Krishna. But so Anil, please go.
Yeah, thank you. Education, from my point of view, I'm facing more the method where we don't have everyone in the globe equal access to those material. Short sample, as I mentioned, working in India, I was a few years ago in India, and I took a taxi, and I had a bag with the street name on the bag of the shop. So I asked the driver, can you bring me to this street name, what has been mentioned? And he looked at me and say, sorry, can you read it? He asked me to read what was written on that section. So you can read it, so please read and bring me to the location. And then he looked at me with a big question mark. So please, sir, please read it. I will drive to you. So I noticed he was not able to read, and that was the main reason he was not able to bring me to the location. So I said, okay, But beside of that, he was not able to read. He was able to drive very carefully the taxi and bring me to the location. And during the trip, he mentioned, I don't have the availability to go to classes, school, and learn because I need to earn money because we need to have food to survive. So that was the main reason he don't had access to them, to those environments. But same happened to me. Even I'm educated, I'm well speaking English, but also Dutch and also Hindi. So I was on a metro station in India somewhere, and I asked one person in Hindi language, can you read what was written in the Hindi symbols on the, so the metro is going on which direction? So I asked him in Hindi, and he said, "Sir, you're making a joke. You can speak Hindi, so you can also read." So no, I can't read. I am only able to speak and understand it, but I can't read all those symbols. So then he mentioned to me, okay, no, but you are still making joke because I don't trust you. So the moral of that story is even we have our benefits, the pro and the cons, when we are not able to learn a way or a language where we are able to. So this should be globally for everyone, but indeed, not reading a language or able to read don't make you weak or not good enough for other ways of learning and doing your stuff.
So, Neil, speaking of reading and being educated, I have drawn something there because I think those are two different things. Some people cannot read some language, but they are educated in some skills and they know how to perform some skills. Can we just acknowledge that as a form of education around the world? Because personally, I have people here in Africa, they cannot read English, but they are educated in so many things. They are educated in driving, in carpentry, in masonry, and this is a type of education is rarely talked about, but I'm very grateful that you brought it out. And Gopi Krishna, I want to hear your thoughts. What's your take? What is your perspective on education? Your mic, please. All right. As he figures out his mic.
Could you please?
Okay, here you are. Please bring it on. All right, we're still having a challenge to hear you.
Yeah, could you please repeat?
Yes, what is your take on education? What is education to you? How do you define education and classroom? All right, I think meanwhile, we will come back to you as we wait for your audio. We really are eager to hear your perspective, but I'm coming back to you, Marisa. You told us about your experience and the current educational system that is still from the industrial period. But who currently determines the global education agenda and how does it impact the world? Who decides that this is what people are going to learn?
Well, I think that it's a fantastic question, and I actually am going to go to, I'm sorry, my eyes are not, is it Fatila? Felisa, of what she was speaking of, because we have to consider both a local and a global context, right? So when you're looking at global recommendations for education or global leaders in recommendation, we look at things like UNESCO, because I've actually contributed to the standards from UNESCO. Those are things that we have to begin looking at. Yes, I look the way I look and I have the background that I have, but we can't think of education coming from that way because it's a completely colonized point of view. So I loved what you were talking about, Lynn, about the people being educated without being educated in some way that it's only reading. that it is many other things. But I think that determining what one form of education is very similar to just saying there's one set of ethics. There aren't. It's going to be multi-layered. And I think the thing that I want to kind of stress here more than anything, and because part of it about working in New York City is that we have people from all over the world, from cultures from all over the world that we work with. I also work with children with severe special needs in New York, and that's another population. The thing more than anything to me that I feel is important here, and is most important here, is that the way we interact with a screen is changing our nervous system. It is changing our brain. And that the sycophantic relationships that are built into conversational AI are highly dangerous. And so for me, that is right now my biggest concern. What education is going to look like, I think it's going to change. I think it's going to change in some ways quite drastically. But I think more than anything, regardless of what happens, what is actually happening to us in the interaction with devices, machine-human interaction, is really at play here. We have 5-year-olds in schools who cannot sit up for 10 minutes because they have spent so much time on a screen. They do not have the physical strength to sit up. I have taught thousands and thousands of children. I've worked in over 500 schools in New York City alone, and then schools around the world. But to me, I've never seen anything like it. I have seen a decline, and it's not just me, it's in the research. There's a decline in cognition. One of the biggest challenges is the frictionless design, and that's another thing. It's a different thing to go into, but that lack of friction does not support education. I'll leave it there.
Marisa, that is a crisis. What I heard from you, that is a crisis itself. I will come back to you on that. We really have to really dig deeper. What happens to attention to a 5-year-old who can just sit down for 5 minutes just to memorize A, B, C, D, E?
It's not attention. They do not have they don't have the physical strength to sit up because their muscles haven't been developed as Ash, is it Atish or Ash? I'm sorry, my glasses. That was trying to describe is that there's the lack of physical interaction is devastating to the nervous system and to the mind.
It's a crisis itself. Felista, and then I'll come to you, Gopi Krishna. I hope your mic is really, really working very well because we want to really hear from you. But Felista, chime in on this first.
So who determines the global education agenda? I think it depends with where you are. And I think one thing we're going to agree is we have unique challenges that have been brought into us by AI. When young people are interacting with AI, even children are interacting with AI, the way Melissa, you were mentioning. But we need to know who are the framers so that we can know who to talk to, right? And the framers, it depends with where you are. If you're in Global South, the framers of education are World Bank, right? They're the ones who have their focus, or they treat education as a human capital. And they are the people who are fund the infrastructure. And at the end of the day, they dictate the curriculum and what is it they want to measure. And then we have other people like the Organization for Economic Development. They're like the benchmark, right? They're the ones who come up and say, oh, these are as our International Minister of Education, this is what we think your education should look like. And everybody else is going to be measured with this spreadsheet. Like everybody should be on this spreadsheet. If then we have UNESCO and the UN, who look like most of the time they don't have the power. So they have all this moral framing of what education is, but at the end of the day, it's a guy who has money, right? It's a guy who has the power who has to be framing. The same if you're in developing country, and I'm talking about United States of America, because I know a little bit about it because my children go here, is we have, it's education right now conversation is a little messy. I'll say that. And is the government again, is a special interest, is the big tech, is the power brokers. And now the
Yes.
issue of geopolitical fragmentation, where we have also other regions, the BRICS, the Chinese also have their own agenda. So basically the issue of the frameworks of education narrows back again, who has the money and who has the power, and everybody else sit down and listen.
Yeah. Yes. Who has the money, who has the power, but I also feel like right now, who has the technology, who has the access to just write something on ChatGPT, teach me something, or write something or somewhere on LinkedIn, teach me something. But Esther, I want to hear your thoughts. I really missed you on what you had to say, but please chime in. Please, your mic, Esther. All right, Esther, I'm not sure if you can really hear me, but as she gets ready, I want to come back to you, Anish and Lynn.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, yeah, here you are.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can. Please chime in
Can
on
you
it. Yes, we can.
You can hear me?
Yes.
All right, so I'm just going to build on what Felista has said, especially coming from the Global South, where most of the international organizations are the ones that are responsible for forming policies and frameworks that actually work. But then the real question is the real impact is a bit complex because we are looking at societal challenges and issues that are really concerning people. So are these frameworks that are being shaped really helping the society? Or it's just about, like Felista has said, who has the money or who has the resources? So my main concern when it comes to who's shaping the education, are these global platforms really solving the problem, or it's just about who has the money or the resources? So it still remains a challenge, especially when it comes to the Global South, because we are seeing persistent problems that are still occurring, especially in our communities. We are not really exposed as we should. We just have the resources, and lack of resources that is impacting negatively on our societies. So it still remains a challenge. Thanks, and over.
Yes, it is a big challenge. And it's not only that, but the impact. The impact is what I'm worried about, because it manifests slowly, gradually, but eventually it will hit you. And that is what I'm concerned about. And right now, AI and other emerging technologies that have entered the classroom, I don't know what to say. I need to hear someone else and what they have to say. Anish, let me bring you on this topic. And Lynn, please prepare yourself. But Anish, please chime in.
So I'm going to keep it very short. So I think it's it's being driven by a lot of institutions and based on different economic priorities. That is what is driving the global education. But what I personally feel is what are the areas of what is basically missing is if there is some sort of an agenda where people are being made aware of their inner dimension, inner landscape. So since I work in that space, and I feel it's extremely important if someone knows what they are meant to do in this world, and they know their purpose, their identity, and if they are aligned with that sort of a thing, that will really help that individual, and overall that will create a ripple effect, and it's going to help the community, and then globally the entire education. So I personally feel if the person is, if they are happier from inside, and the best way I can measure it is like how much they are aligned inside. That's basically what I personally feel. So yeah, that's my take. Thank you so much.
You brought the perspective of purpose, but how does someone get to know their purpose, by the way? Just a quick follow-up. How do you know your purpose in life?
Amazing question. So Mark Twain has this wonderful quote. He says that there are two most important days in your life. One is when you're born, and second is when you find out why you are born in the first place. So the why part is your purpose, and sometimes you are finding you're chasing your purpose, and sometimes the purpose is chasing you. So it depends on which side of which side you are. And basically, I think it's a lot of, you need to be slightly patient, and you need
Yes.
to keep all your senses open, because a stranger can give you that thought. So you have to keep all your senses open. Thank you.
All right. So for me, I think purpose is, from what I get from you, it's something you discovered because it's inherent. But let me just hear from you, Gopi Krishna. I hope your mic is good, because I'm coming to you, Lean, as well as Soinil. But let me just hear from Gopi. All right. Lean, and then I'll come to you, Soinil.
Hello, are you able to hear now?
Lean?
You want me to go?
Yes.
Well, okay, I'm going to keep it really brief. So who determines the global system is a group of people who do not have our best interest in mind, and they use us for labor and profit. And it has had devastating impacts on the world with ADHD, all of the mental illness. The kids with autism are special, sensitive people being crushed in this harsh world. That's my answer.
All right. Yes, that was very brief. And when you say the people who don't have the right intention for the world, who has the right intention, then if the people who are at the top are the people who don't have the right intention, what does it mean for the person who is the person?
We at the bottom, what if you want to call it that, we flower from within.
The bottom.
Yes, but you know what I'm saying in terms of the power structure.
Yes,
I think our change comes within. As we empower ourselves, we rise above the current control system. But we have to get really honest about what the system is and who's in charge. But we have the power, but we are not knowing how to harness it. We are focusing on the wrong thing.
All right, thank you for highlighting that. So, Anil, what is your take? What do you think? Who structures, who shapes the education system?
I guess it will be a combination, as already mentioned. The government set it up, I think, in the globe, and a lot of large companies, but also the universities are building on behalf of that, or going, especially if you move to the technical IT.
Is anyone talking? Hello.
Yes,
Any
yes.
of those,
Gopi, we can hear you. Sunil is currently talking. Please, Sunil, proceed.
So I guess the combination will be more from the industrial point of view, to add those extra in the education part, where there is currently those large tech companies are leading, mainly because they have the power. The Microsoft, the Amazons, and the Googles in the world. Those are mainly empowering and feeding those information where they start. And of course, AI is also one of the part we already mentioned. So we need those but I guess that also those the UNESCO, UNICEF, and the government need also be involved. They are mainly able to see, okay, let they do, and if it's too late, then they say, oh no, we need to take control. And some those items that I guess in Australia, children around 14 years are not able to go to social, so they ban it. So those kind of government initiatives are coming, but it's only on one part of the world, not a lot of them. I'm not saying it's good or not good, but it's mainly the approach that also governments need to be more proactive into this kind of field, what's going on in the globe.
Yes, I agree. Government should not just be passive, but I also feel like Lynn highlighted, there's a hierarchy. There's a hierarchy to this. If the government is answering to someone, there's definitely someone who is always going to control, no matter how much the government tries to bring in their own policies and all that. But let me just go to the next question, and anyone can chime in to that as well. How do community-led education models challenge centralized education systems? Who wants to chime in on that? All right, Marisa.
Hi. There are community-led schools tend to be, I find, infinitely more responsive, culturally responsive, I find to be much more useful and utilitarian because it's coming from people's experience. It's like what somebody needs in one part of the world is not what another person needs. Even in the, I mean, the United States is, Africa is gigantic. United States is smaller than that, but we're large. And it's like to think of what education looks like in one part of the country and what it looks like in the other is very different. So when you have what we are called community schools, and we do have some community schools, and they tend to be much better. And I've seen those in other countries. I've seen them in Indonesia. I've seen them in Singapore, where they have some community schools where we're talking, and Singapore tends to be more corporate, but in Indonesia, not as much, where you're actually talking about experiential learning and what is that going to mean in my life? And it's not an either or. I don't think the future is an either or. I don't think that that's a realistic way to look at things. I think how we begin to think about this versus the what. Right, because again, whether it's big tech that's running it or whether it's governments that are running it, they tend to homogenize because homogenization is easier to control. And so when we begin to give the reins of education and the importance of education to the people who are being educated. That's to me, that's really where we begin to find education that means something to someone's life, that actually resonates with their life. And I just think that this is a powerful tool that has some very positive benefits if it is used very carefully, and also unfortunately has some very, very far-reaching dangers, serious dangers those are the things that I'm most concerned about. The learning will happen other ways.
Yes, we're going to go to the dangers because that is something we really have to talk about. And just to add on to what you said, I come from Kenya and we have community-led schools that were really, really inspired by the community, the language that they speak. And you will find most of these community schools, the children of the learners were learning in their own mother tongue, right? And they're learning tales, they're learning what the community used to believe in, they were learning what really impacts them at the moment, because when you talk to them about AI and the only thing they understand is how I'm gonna fetch water, that really doesn't resonate with what they're doing. So I'm for the diversity. Education should just be approached according to the region, their needs, what they need at the moment. But perhaps someone has a different view. I want to bring you in, Gopi Krishna. I'm not sure if your audio is good, but I just want to hear something from you. Tell us, what is your take? Can you hear us?
Hi,
Right.
and
Yeah.
thank you for that.
Yes.
So today the education is like globally without losing like local guidance, right? Thinking globally, grounding means understanding the global challenges and experience locally and global level thinking and languages, culture, community, live with different areas, gathering the experience. So to become a narrow to defensive, education should help on that. And learners very fastly, we can utilize those things and they will easily fast and growth, and globally we can identify that. And moreover, the future is learning not for about it's not just about a smarter, and it's a purely into technology, right? It's about the wiser like humans, like that's what I'm telling.
Nice. Thank you for adding that in. And I just want to shift gears because I see our time really, really moving faster than our discussion. And I want to bring you, Sunil and Anish, to this particular topic. How important is human creativity when machines can generate instantly? I think also, Lynn, I want to hear from you because this is some of the passionate things you do. But first of all, Sunil, please chime in.
First, I want to add on your point, Lynn, what you mentioned about learning in local languages, or the approach, what works very well. I faced the same, and I was delivering webinars for northeast of India, and we did it in the local language online. We was able to see that persons was able to ask easier questions because they are not maybe perfect in English, but and nobody will laugh you because your English is not good enough. So we mentioned make it very simple for you. Ask it in your local language. And if you want to ask in English, you are happy to do. We are able to answer the question in all those languages. So we was able to see more interaction with us than only listening and don't ask any questions. So I totally agree. I think that approach works very well also on that approach. Back to your question, actually, how important is the machines you are mentioning? Yeah, indeed, we actually a long time we are already make use of computers and all those systems. But the approach where we are able to make use now with AI related items, I guess it will be still a combination. We are able to make use of the machines to support us, but I don't think we need to rely totally on each decision related to the machines. Recent, I was a speaker in one of the conference about healthcare, and the same discussion was there also about should AI take the decisions for any action what a doctor need to take. So everyone was saying no, no, no. What if they take the wrong decision? Someone could be able to die or something happen. So those approach was a good point to mention that indeed we need to be carefully considering. Had the same discussion already with the electric cars, all those. But in this situation, especially
Hello,
in the
are you
healthcare,
able to hear? I'm not able to hear after Lenin. You mute.
All right.
no,
Okay,
I
please
think
proceed.
you are able to hear me all.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so I think that is also one of the points where I mentioned, try to mention, yeah, and indeed those, but indeed we are also from point of view, and we know already AI will be better, become better, even the feeling, the emotion, or the way how they are make use to make fraud is also become very sophisticated, where they are able to do it very well. It's hard for us from human to decide is this a human who was talking to me or a computer. So I guess that could be also the point where we need to be aware that this will coming and happening.
All right, all right. And this is where we expand this conversation to not just creativity, but the ability to design, right? And Anisha, I want to hear from you. How important is creativity and independent thinking of the mind?
So again, I'll just keep it very short. So I think creativity is non-negotiable, and machines can certainly replicate the outcomes, but it's the inner wisdom, it's the inner insight which is going to make the final. Like I was just listening to what Sunil was saying, like doctor can make a decision based on machines and or not, but ultimately the final decision should be coming from your own experience, so you should have the final say, basically. So the whole idea, the real question revolves around that: are we helping people around accessing their originality? Are we making them feel more authentic about their choices, or are we just simply training them to respond faster? That is the key question. Thank you so much.
Yes, and that is a question to reflect on. We're just being trained to respond faster. But I want to hear from you, Lynn. Wrap that thread from what Anisha said. What is your take?
Sorry, the sound isn't great. So for me, the creativity, there's so much room for creativity, but for me, it's in the human body. So whether it's dance, volleyball, chess, whatever it is, something that's moving, kung fu, using that as a creative expression. I mean, hiking a mountain can be creative depending on what you're looking at and the presence that you're bringing to that action. But now I love to use Midjourney to make some really cool images. But I think it's important when we're using machines to generate creativity that there is a back and forth, that we use our own intelligence and our mind to refine the creation, because we are way better than AI. Now they can give us a great starting point, and I think so many people will take that starting point and run with it. But I think AI has this possibility to take us much deeper into our own creative nature. So there's a place for it, because I use it in my work fairly regularly for visual arts. But I think there's always the body arts that we need to get more focus on.
Yes, definitely. Time is running out, but I'm impressed by the answers that we're getting here, and the solutions and the ideas. And this is something most of us will take home with. And if you're part of our audience, please continue chiming in. Now, to close us off with the last question, and I address this to you, Felista. What do you see in the future? What is your vision for education in the future? What are the actions you're going to take for the future when it comes to education and the people who are surrounding you? What is your action? What is your commitment? This is literally a pact.
Okay, so the parting shot for what quality education should look like, I think it should look like the people, right? And as we've realized now during this conversation, is every part of the world has their own unique need. And the way you were talking about some areas in some part of the world, their issue might be their immediate issue is water, right? What can I come and help with creating solutions for their water problem, for example? And other part of the world, it can be something else, right? So how do we make sure that our quality education framework and system actually are informed by the realities of the people, of the communities that we live in? And I think one thing we realize, or one thing that is for true, is that our current education is tailored toward manufacturing assembly line. So how can we take control of those systems and make sure that is based on reality and the people, and is serving the current people?
All right. Reality-based education. Marisa, I'm gonna give you just one second to conclude us.
My only call would be in a vision, both the challenge and the vision, is we're focusing too much on the adults and people who are already developed. We're not talking about what happens to the human brain and the human psyche, right? I believe inner development is beautiful, but we can't develop those. We don't just spring out that way developed. Those are things that will change if we're not careful for the younger ones. So I just want to my focus is on what are we feeding the future humans as they come through. So real experience with young children and what that looks like. That would be my dream, that we begin to think that way, because the rest we can handle if we can really pay attention to the developmental needs of young children. That would be it.
There was no other better way to conclude this panel than what you just said, and that is a action point for us to really reflect on. To conclude this panel, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I understand there were some technical difficulties, but that is what makes this gather very real and impactful. And we appreciate each and every contribution that you brought today. And as for me and our GatherVerse team, our GatherVerse World, please keep following these leaders, check what they're doing, interact with them, message them, congratulate them on what they're doing. Our GatherVerse World. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.